Alrighty. I want to give information on the Israel trip. If you are here and not planning on going on the Israel trip, that's fine. There looks to be more than enough for seconds. And ice cream should never go to waste. So feel free to get seconds. Feel free to get out, walk around. If you need to leave, that's perfectly fine. They're not, foul together. But I do want to give information out. We are going to be recording this so that people who aren't able to be here will be able to hear it. So what I'm going to do is pass out some itinerary sheets of information. All right, so
let him read some.
let me go through. Let me go through what I've kind of come up with. There are two proposals that are in front of me, right? And so I want to go through the details of the itinerary with you, the costs, kind of the expectations, and then show you some pictures, and then open it up to whatever questions you guys might have. All right. So we really have two options. One is a 10-day option. The 10-day option obviously is a little bit shorter. And it's also geared to be 1 to 2 miles of easy walking a day. We don't have a whole lot of athletes in our church at this point. So,
As I shovel ice
yeah, or what? So the 10-day is intended to be a little bit shorter, also a little bit cheaper, obviously, because it's a shorter time frame. But then there's also the 13-day itinerary. The 13-day itinerary would probably average about 2 to 4 miles of normal walking, not incredibly steep stuff, not a whole lot of steps, but there might be some steps, there might be some steep walk, a little bit of steep walking, probably about 2 to 4 miles. But that 2 to 4 miles is over the entire day. And you have bus rides in between, so it's not like this constant 4-mile walk. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to take a look at the 10-day itinerary real quickly here. So the 10-day itinerary is, as you can see, $3,900. That's all inclusive of everything that's on the paper here. So essentially, it will mean that you can get picked up here at the church, get dropped off here at the church, and not pay a single extra dime. Okay. If you want lunches, as we're going to see, those are going to be additional. And if you want tchotchke, the stuff in the marketplace that you buy, that would be additional, obviously. But otherwise, this is an end-to-end price. So it includes all your airfare, it includes shuttle to the airport, it includes hotel, it includes breakfast and dinners every day.
And do you share your tent?
It includes tips.
Do you share your tent with the family?
So this is presumed to be double occupancy. So there would need to be 2 people in every room. If you are a 1 person, we will match you up with another 1 person, so you get double occupancy. Right? So, and we'll do that later. You don't need to do that. If you're 3, then we have to talk. All right. So. But that does presume double occupancy. If you're a type that like to just kind of hang out at night by yourself and not have somebody else in the room, that's perfectly fine. It is about $1,000 additional for that because you're paying for all the hotel rooms essentially that aren't essentially an extra hotel room. So the price includes shuttle from and to Sky Valley to Atlanta Airport. You could technically meet us at Atlanta Airport. We could work that out, but that's not going to reduce the price. Okay. The estimated round trip airfare from Atlanta, including tax and fees. Obviously, until we actually put our deposit down, we don't know an exact amount. So this could vary, obviously, based on oil prices, airline prices, et cetera, okay? But this is pretty solid right now. All the air taxes, fuel surcharges, those are all subject to change. So that's where the airfare might change. 8 nights lodging at 4-star hotels, breakfast and dinner daily at the hotel. Breakfast and dinners are always a buffet at these hotels. There you go. It is very good. I mean, it's not, you know, what's that? It's not. It's not Michelin,
Yeah.
right? So, but it's good food, all right, and it's Israeli food. So you're gonna be eating pretty much any diet through the buffet. It also includes a lunch at a restaurant called St. Peter's Fish, which you actually you can get other stuff, but the main meal there is the fish that are caught in the Sea of Galilee that you're actually eating. So that's why they call it St. Peter's Fish. And then also a lunch at what's called Abe's Tent, and that is a dining experience where everybody is dressed in what would be typical during Abraham's time. And you kind of have a dinner that that represents that as they kind of give a presentation. Okay. We have an English-speaking tour guide. There is a bus that you are taking the entire time. So everywhere you go, there will be a bus. It's a full-size bus, air conditioned, obviously, all that. It includes all the entrances and transportation appearing on the itinerary. So you pay nothing to enter anything. They will bring you to the bus stop area, you get off, you enter your area, it's all been paid for, taken already. Portage at the hotels for one piece of luggage. One group arrival transfer, one group departure transfer. That's just a group thing. And then all the tips for driver's guides and hotel staff. So you don't have to worry about tipping it. So literally speaking, when I say you can get on the bus and get off the bus and not pay a single penny from end to end, that's very doable. For those of you who might be on a little bit tighter budget. Not included in that is any kind of what they call whisper listening devices. So if you want something in your ear to be able to hear better, that would be an additional rental cost. I'd have to find out what that is. I don't know that off the top of my head, but that's that would be additional. The lunches and drinks or the meals except as on the itinerary. I don't know about you, I'm Dutch, so I'm about as cheap gets. Okay? So if I get 2 buffets in one day, I can make it at lunch pretty easy. Right? So, but as we go from place to place, you will have opportunities to have lunch. So if you need those 3 meals in order to make it through the day, we will have lunches along the way. But the lunches are additional, so that would be something that you'd be paying for. Yes.
What about cocktails?
I am not aware of any cocktails at any point.
They're not
in the
included in
trip.
the price.
They are not included in the price. You can have optional travel insurance. We go with the school. We don't have the travel insurance that goes along with it. The students have student insurance, that kind of stuff. And normally, in terms of your health, most of your health plans probably have some kind of a rider in there in terms of getting you out of the country if that's necessary. Okay. So if you wanted to have that optional travel insurance, that can be arranged. This does not include any testing for COVID. Right now, the country does not require any COVID testing, so long as you have been vaccinated. Actually, they don't even require vaccination at this time. So it's whether vaccinated or not vaccinated, they're fine. You kind of come in. So if you want to test for COVID, that's up to you. This does not include the passport cost. You need to have your passport. The passport needs to be up to date. By up to date, my general rule of thumb is that your passport is good for at least 6 months after the date of return. That way, if we lose you, you can still get back to the United States. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, and I want to know, what about visa? This is visa.
There is no visa. The visa is included. Yeah.
Okay, so you don't.
So if, and again, we're gonna go through all the details, so we're just trying to get the finances out of the way. If you decide that you want to go on a trip, then there would be $100 per person payable to Sky Valley Chapel. Any payments made to Sky Valley Chapel are not tax deductible. This is just to kind of get all the money together so we can give one check to the tour place as opposed to however many checks come in. So none of it is tax deductible. You can't think of it that way. It's just kind of it's a fund for us to kind of gather everything together. If you're interested in going, $100 per person. If we get 10 people to go, we will go ahead and put down the $500 deposit that's necessary in order to lock the price. And we'll let you know what that price is before we do that. And then you can decide yes or no. If we stay at 10 at that point, then we go ahead and do the $500 deposit. If you drop below that, then we wait until we have 10 people. Okay, so 10 people is the minimum. Right? You would get that $100 back so long as we have not done the $500 deposit. So if only 9 people show up and you've given your $100, the church would give you the $100 back. Right? But once we put that deposit down, that $500 deposit, once we get those 10, nothing is refundable after that. Right? I'm going to say nothing. In reality, there is likely some refund along the way, but I'm going to say not go into it with the idea that nothing is going to be refundable. Okay? So you have $100 in September, January 1st, you have $500 per person, and then by February 17th, the balance of the trip costs. You can pay that early, that's fine if you want to do that early. But those are the payment deadlines for the trip. Any questions on the logistics of the trip? Yeah.
What if you want to upgrade your
We can check with the tour company about that. I don't have a good answer off the top of my head because I've done most of these trips either as a mission trip or with the school, and we don't have any kids who are traveling first class. So, but it is my guess is it's allowable.
Okay.
But we just have to find out the details.
Okay. The other question that came to mind, were you talking about you can buy things and all that? American money?
Yes. So you can get like shekels or something like that if you want to. And it's kind of neat to have some of that foreign money, but most of the marketplaces will all take American dollars, and your credit cards are going to work. I mean, you'll get the exchange rate credit card, you do dollars to shekels in the exchange rate. The marketplace we'll tell you when we get there. This is the ratio. So if it's 10 shekels to $1, then you know that your 10 shekel thing is actually costing $1. Just because you're going to actually, we'll talk about this, but actually in the marketplace they encourage bartering, or not bartering, negotiating. Thank you. So they'll actually start at.
Trading for something.
No. I know you keep trying. You keep trying, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Just throwing that out there.
Nice to know before we go.
You can negotiate the marketplace and they expect it actually. So they might start at 2 and you'll say, no, it should be 50 cents. And you'll kind of, in the middle ground, get to about $1. But at the end of the day, we'll give you all of that. But they will take American dollars happily. And many of the places I knew you have to take credit. Good. Other questions? On the logistics, not on the locations. We'll go over that in just a moment. All right. Well, let me start going over locations. I'm not going to go through this in detail because you can read it and it's a page and a half from the two. Yeah, sure.
What if we wanted to do this trip and then go to another location?
Someplace else.
Yeah.
Again, talk to me and we'll talk to the tour place and see if there's a way for us to do that.
Okay.
So it will probably cost.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, we understand.
So, the trip itself is contained to get us from church to church, right? So anything that deviates outside of that may cost.
Okay. No, will.
Good. So the 10-day trip starts. So we would leave here, Itinerary Chapel. We would have a bus that would take us down to Atlanta Airport, and then travel over to Israel. You arrive in Israel usually late afternoon by the time you get there the next day, just because of time differences. And so we usually stay at a place right on the Mediterranean Sea. Last time I was there, I had my window open all night. I was listening to the waves from the Mediterranean Sea. So I can't guarantee that. Nothing that I give you is guaranteed, okay, for a variety of reasons. But this is the general trip, right? The next day after, so you can walk on the Mediterranean Sea beach, and if you want to go swimming, you can go swimming in the water. But you can walk along the beach if you want to. The next day we head up to Caesarea. What's called Caesarea Maritime. It was a palace that Herod had on the Mediterranean Sea. So you get to see kind of some of the ruins, the foundational ruins of the palace, as well as a portion of the amphitheater that still exists. The ocean has actually moved in. And so some of the amphitheater, not just in the last few years, over the last 1,000, 2,000 years, has moved in, and part of the amphitheater is gone, but you can actually sit in the amphitheater and kind of envision what that would have looked like. And then we also go to see an aqueduct, an actual Roman aqueduct that's still standing in that area. We go to Megiddo, which is probably not very important to many of you, but it's one of the oldest cities in the world and one of the most contested cities. So they have war after war after war after war after war, which, if you know anything about archaeology, is great because it means they have layer after layer after layer that they can kind of figure stuff out. And then we head to Nazareth. Nazareth should sound very familiar to you because that's the boyhood home of Jesus. We go to a place called Nazareth Village, and they will actually take you through and guide you kind of in a, again, people costumed and kind of showing you what that day would have looked like, probably for Jesus. We go up to, on May 19th, we go up to Dan and Caesarea Philippi. Those are important places because a lot of the pagan worship of Israel happened at Dan, and there's actually a place you can actually go into a place where they found an altar to Baal, and so you can kind of see what at least the area that would have looked like. Caesarea Philippi, you are familiar because that's where Jesus said that the gates of hell will not succeed over the church. And there's actually a cave there that was known as the gates of hell. And so he's probably standing there speaking exactly about what's behind him. That day we would also go to Capernaum. Capernaum should be familiar to you because that's where much of Jesus' ministry happened. The household of Peter's mother is there. Peter's house is there. There's a synagogue that is in partial ruins, but the foundation of it would have been a synagogue that Jesus would have visited when you hear him going to the synagogue. That's probably the place where he was. And then we will also have a Sea of Galilee boat ride. So you will actually go out on a boat, you'll be out in the middle of the Sea of Galilee. Everywhere in Israel, it says this is the place where this happened. And then a bunch of lawyers read that, and they have other little signs that say this may or may not be an actual place where this happened. I'm going to tell you, when you're sitting on the Sea of Galilee, and you look at those hills, that's pretty close to what Jesus would have seen during his day. Those hills haven't changed all that much in 2,000 years. So if you really want to get a good sense, that's a great place for you to kind of look around and say, I'm looking at probably very much other than the modern cities, but the stuff that we go down on May 20th to the Jordan River baptism site. And if people want to be either baptized or kind of rededicated in the Jordan River, talk about that. That can occur. And then there's a place called Bet Shean. It's technically it's a biblical city, but it is ruins like you have never seen ruins before. You're literally walking through buildings that actually have walls, not just foundational ruins. There are pillars all over the place. You can walk down the actual walkway of the city, road, main road of the city. You can go into the Colosseum that they have there. Just, I mean, if you have any interest in any kind of ancient city archaeology, this is the gold mine. So we go to Bet Shean for a time, and then we head down to the Dead Sea. For those of you who are comfortable going into the water, you go into the Dead Sea water, you cannot swim there. So they say strongly do not recommend that you swim because you get salt water. And it's not good to get on your face. However, you can do the very thing that you have been taught never to do your entire life, and literally sit down and just start floating backwards and come along. So it's a pretty neat experience. From there, we go to Masada. Masada is an ancient, or is a first century fortress. It actually was a palace for Herod, and then became a fortress for the Jews when the Romans came to destroy Israel in 70 AD. There's a whole story behind that, which is really deep. We will at least either go to or pass by Megiddo, which is where David hid out from Saul. In that area is also Qumran, which is where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. So we passed through that, and also did the Abraham's tent experience there. And then we have a number of days where we are in Jerusalem. So in Jerusalem, we'll be able to go to the Mount of Olives. We'll go to the Garden of Gethsemane. We'll be able to look out for the Temple Mount, or go on the Temple Mount, and again, trip and where people are health-wise. There are some steps and stuff to get up to the Temple Mount, but it's a really neat experience. You go to the place on the Temple Mount where the Holy of Holies would have been for the Old Testament temple. And while we're in Jerusalem, we'll go to more churches than you can possibly imagine, because there's a church for almost everything, but it's really neat when you go in, the artistry of the church and just the atmosphere, the ambiance of the church is really quite a significant experience. We'll go to Bethlehem as well, and be able to see a place where supposedly the birth of Jesus occurred, and the cave for the shepherds. We will go to the Via de la Rosa and walk through much of that, if not all of it, depending on the trip. And then go to the Garden Tomb. Sea of Galilee and the Garden Tomb are two of the most, for me at least, were two of the most significant experiences every time I go. I love to be on the water and just kind of look around and kind of see what we've been seeing during that day. And in the Garden Tomb is a tomb that is similar to first century tombs of the rich. So this, if it's not the tomb, it is like the tomb, which is good enough for me. So, but what I love about it is that you can go into the tomb, so you can actually kind of see what the normal tomb would look like on that day. There is a rock that is actually rolled in front of the, they don't roll it anymore, but would have been rolled in front of the opening of the tomb. They have that open. And as they say, if you have come here looking for Jesus, he's not really Jesus. So it's really just a neat experience. We probably would do communion there while we're there, just to kind of just to appreciate what Christ has accomplished. There's a lot more in terms of sites, and they are all listed. Okay, so I'm not going to go through every one of those. I am going to quickly switch over to the 13-day itinerary. The 13-day itinerary is about $4,500, okay, approximately. All the inclusion, non-inclusion, and payment information is exactly the same as what you just asked. So all those questions will all be the same answers. And the trip essentially is the same exact trip, except for the 13-day tour, we add in the city of Petra. Petra is actually in the country of Jordan, and it is a city built by the descendants of Esau, literally into the side of a rock. So they have pillars and all sorts of stuff that are built into the side of the rock. It's an incredibly wondrous place to go and see. In addition, the 13-day tour is going to generally average probably more closer to the 3 to 5 mile range. It's going to be a little bit. Again, most of the time you're getting a bus that takes you right to the spot and you're just walking for a short period, but there might be a little bit more stairs, there might be a little bit more incline. But again, that 3 to 5 miles is spread throughout the entire day. It's not like we're waking up in the morning and I'm militantly getting you to walk 5 miles in the next 2 hours.
Not that we couldn't, if we.
Well, if you wanted to do that, that would be fine.
But you're not gonna make it.
But we want to make sure it looks bad on the resume. We don't come home with it. So we really like to try and make sure it makes sense. So that is a little bit more rigorous of a trip, but not terribly so. It does add a few sites in, so when you compare it to, but it's primarily that Petra component of the trip that's added into it. And again, that covers all the costs in terms of airfare into Jordan and travel to Israel and visas, etc. Questions on the locations?
What would you say is the most important thing about going the extra days? What's the most things we'd see that would be so different?
Petra is significant. I mean, it's considered one of the ancient sites to see. So Petra is an important component. And as you compare the list, you'll notice that it doesn't just say we're passing by or we're looking at. Like Temple Mount, you will be on the Temple Mount for a decent amount of time that day. Whereas the other trip might only be a very short period of time. So it gives you a little bit more breathing room. Right? So it's more walking, but it's also more time at the different locations that you go to.
But do we all decide as a group?
Well, that's what I have here, a sign-up sheet. Okay? So if you are vaguely interested, this does not commit you to going. Okay, it just says keep giving me information. Okay. So name, email, cell phone is obvious. Okay. I have two different check boxes. And if you are okay with going to either trip, check both boxes. If there's only one trip that you would go on and you would not go on the other one, then just check that one. Does that make sense? That helps me know kind of how flexible I can be on the number of people that are going. So I'm going to start passing that around.
So essentially, there will be one trip.
Yes, there will only be one trip. Yeah, one or the other trip, but not both.
So we have
So I
to
was
have
thinking
10
the 10
agree to
day
do.
I mean, the 13-day would start and then the 10 would kind of.
Yeah, well-
See, the days are different.
They're different dates. The 10, almost everything in the 10-day is in the 13-day.
Yes.
So you're not missing out on anything by going to the 13-day, just adds more time and whatnot. Thank you for saying.
Thank you.
Great to
Yeah,
have
come and see us.
you. Yes.
What is the weather?
Weather generally is going to be sunny by our prayers, and probably would be low to mid 70s, but not Georgia 70s. So it's much dry. It's significantly more dry. Jordan River will be warm enough. Yeah, it's a little cold.
Jenny, everybody was.
We can keep an AED on the side just to make sure.
So what would you do? Like, do you bring them the next?
They have a changing place. You can change out, dry off. You just bring a change of clothes. Head back. Other questions? It will be chilly, but not impossibly chilly. Let me show you some pictures, and maybe this will also. Everything on that.
It was delicious, y'all. Thank you.
All right, so this is a picture of the Mediterranean Sea from near the hotel that we were at. This is a picture of the amphitheater and some of the surrounding areas around the amphitheater. So this particular, that's the aqueduct, Roman aqueduct that you're able to see. You can go right up to, touch it, walk through it. It's all right there. a picture of the Armageddon Valley. This is a picture of an ancient pagan worship site. Another pagan worship site.
Where you headed?
This goes through. That's the gates of hell in Caesarea Philippi.
Thank you.
This is on the Sea of Galilee, so you're actually on the beach on the Sea of Galilee by the church where Jesus visited the disciples in John chapter 21. So that's why you had the bread and fish there that Jesus had to eat. This is inside that church. This is on the Sea of Galilee. So you're actually looking from the boat across the Sea of Galilee here.
We cross it.
You don't cross it, you go out and come back. Yeah. This is the synagogue that Jesus, the foundation built on. This is another Sea of Galilee picture. This is the Jordan River baptism site. So you notice there's a ramp going down. This is a pot that would have been similar to the pots that Jesus used to change the water into wine. At one of the sites, you can actually read from a Hebrew scroll and you have like a little service. There's an incredible amount of artistry. If you like art, you will be blown away. This is Bet Shean, where you can actually see the entire portion of the city. This is a portion of the Dead Sea Scrolls. So you can go to the museum where the Dead Sea Scrolls are. This is Qumran, where they found one of the sites for the Dead Sea Scrolls. This is the Dead Sea. This is a picture from Masada looking down at the army encampment. This is a place of particular interest to me. You can go to this place, that's 2,000 years old, and it's like you can reach over and touch it if you were rude to do that. This is the Lord's Prayer Church, so they have the Lord's Prayer in all these different languages. This is the Temple Mount from the Mount of Olives. That's the eastern gate that has been blocked up by, well, we'll talk about that. This is the eastern, or another gate, the northern gate that you walk through on a consistent basis. This is the Wailing Wall that you go to, the Temple Mount is right above that. This is the Shepherd's Cave in Bethlehem. This is, I think, the Orthodox Church where the birth of Jesus. So that's supposedly the spot for that. This is the Garden of Gethsemane that you can walk through. Also, the Church of the Garden of Gethsemane. That's the Dome of the Rock that's on top of the Temple Mount. You can walk all around it, you can go in there. That's the spot supposedly where the Holy of Holies may have been. That's just another shot of it. This is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which has both the possible places where Jesus was crucified as well as where he was buried. That's where they believe the burial was, inside that place. That's the Garden Tomb with the opening. It doesn't show the rock there, but the rock is there. And that's me with much better hair dye baptized.
That's your hair.
That was my hair. When I grew up, I was actually I was told it wrong.
Wow.
So I've dyed it for a number of years. I don't like that, but now I just so that gives you some idea of what you look.
How many times have you been?
In January, it will be my third time in May. I'm going to January with TFC by God's grace.
I would imagine like tennis shoes, athletic shoes.
Yes, tennis shoes, athletic shoes most of the time for walking. If you know you're going to be in the water, you want to bring sandals or something, some kind of water.
Yeah.
It's not like sandy beach. It's rocky. Yeah. Sea of Galilee is rocky. Jordan River is not rocky because they've kind of taken that all out in that spot there. Dead Sea is salty. It's actually crusted salt. So you really want some kind of shoes or something. Yeah.
So how are we gonna get information to people? Because you said about 40 people
Yep.
know. How are we gonna?
Well, so this is being taped, and the link should be on the website, hopefully today or tomorrow. Bruce is also going to put it on the Facebook page. You all are, as in our Christian faith, you are the best people to spread the good news. So tell your friends, tell people who you think might be interested, and they can either contact me. Again, my email's on the website, and I will make sure that they get on the list so that we can decide where we go. We can take anywhere from 10 to 40 people. The more people we get, the cheaper we get per person. Just to have all the cards on the table, if 10 people go, I go for free. So, however, every day I will be giving devotionals at different places that we go to. The tour guides can do that also, but I'd like to kind of provide some insight into all of that. So I would be giving devotionals. I probably would put a devotional, if you wanted to do it, together ahead of time. So that each day, if you want to do like the morning reading and devotions, you can do that. That would be tied to the places that we're going to visit.
Is Margaret gonna go?
At this point, Margaret she's been there twice. So at this point, she's saying no. However, if you get 20 people to go, the second person can go. She can go. The possibility is there that we could convince her to go. She's less inclined to go, only because she's been there twice. So I, on the other hand, would go. I've been a lot of places around the world. I would go every time I go. You will not read scripture the same way. You just can't. It's like all the things, like right now. So when you read Psalm 23 and it says, "Bring me to green pastures," you're thinking of the stuff you see around you here, like golf course, right? Golf courses, green pastures. And then you're going to go down around Bethlehem and Judea and realize green pastures are these little tiny tufts of grass that barely look enough to feed you, let alone a whole flock of sheep. And you realize just what green pastures is not. I'm going to go someplace and I can lay down and move in order to be fed. It's God is providing for that day. And then I need to find another green pasture the next day. Because that green pasture is already done. So it's a very different way, So, but you don't realize that until you actually see it. And so there's a lot that will start as you're reading scripture. You can be like, I was at that place. Remember.
We're gonna have another
One
information.
thing that was on here, it said, you said 6 months after the end of the trip, you said your passport good through 12/22. Did you mean 12?
12/23. My apologies. Yeah, it should be 12/23. That's what I recommend. Obviously, I can't force you one way or the other, but you don't want to get too close.
South countries are. Means.
They don't. It sure doesn't require it, but it's just good wisdom to Then you're not in this whole my passport's good, no it's not. Long enough, doesn't it? Which that will probably never come into play. I've never had it come into play, but the one time it does, you don't mind. I don't want to read it.
We have another information.
We can add another information meeting if we need one. So I'll start keeping people on the list in contact. And then anybody else that wants information, please have them contact me or look for the link on the website of this recording, and then they can get all the information on that.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.